Hello, in this video, we're going to be talking about why we lose our marbles. And if you've seen the progression, we started with Brain 101, where we described what is normal. Then we moved on to Dementia 101, which kind of like describes what dementia is. And so you can understand now that we're at why we lose our marbles in the first place. You can understand, hopefully, the progression and why it happens. Again, it is not something that happens out of the blue. There's usually a track record. There's a yellow brick road, so to speak, that shows how the individual eventually came to that point. So we have the video about the analogy of the fortress. That's exactly what it is. It's dementia occurs as a result of continual damage to the defenses, leading to a disruption in what is within the community, and a disruption in the community where the community no longer is able to perform the duties that make a community it's a community, no longer being able to reproduce and raise families and raise kids in a nice loving family, make money, agriculture, pay taxes, and so on and so forth. In times of war, in times of siege, and when one nation comes in and just takes over another nation, I know it's not as dramatic as that. Just everything is disrupted, and so that's the idea that you want to come to this with. The solution to that, which we'll get to in other videos, the solution to that is to restore law and order, expel the invading aliens and the attackers, or subdue and expel them, and then again restore law and order. But let's back up a little bit so we can have an idea of what's going on. Why we lose our marbles. I'm going to go into the next slide here. I love this definition by the Alzheimer's Association. In my opinion, it's the best definition I've seen of everything that is out there. Now, it's not perfect. There are still some little things that is falling short in, but at least it has the correct idea. It says Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative brain disease that is caused by complex brain changes following cell damage. And that's the key. It leads to dementia symptoms that gradually worsen over time. In other words, it's progressive, and some say it's irreversible. But the key is cell damage. Now, what are the root causes of dementia? Well, damage, we mentioned damage. The other one is energy depletion. So there could be not overt. In some cases, it's not really overt damage. That's why I say the definition is not completely adequate. It could just be that the brain is simply is not generating enough energy to maintain its circuitry. And we explained how that the brain needs so much more energy than most parts of the body to maintain its trillions and trillions of synapses. So energy depletion is the key thing. But since we've talked about energy depletion already, let's talk about cellular damage. There's that definition again. But I asked my staff to kind of create this. I should have just asked AI. AI does it all now these days. But there's cellular damage. According to that definition, the brain changes, there's degeneration, and then the symptoms progressively get worse. So it's almost like a vicious cycle. The worse the symptoms are, the worse the condition is, the worse the cellular damage, and then the complex brain changes. Now, the complex brain changes, amongst other things, include the fact that the brain is pulling back. Now, think about this. If you are a businessman, for instance, and let's say this year or last year you were not making enough money, maybe sales fell by 50%. Well, if it's significant enough, you may not be able to maintain the staff, maintain the equipment, maintain the luxury items. And so you have to cut back. And the parts you cut back first are the luxury items, the private jet, for instance. I mean, your salespeople might have to fly first class. My goodness, that would be a catastrophe for some people. But that's kind of like what you have to do. You have to pull back. In the same way, some of the complex changes that the brain is undergoing is to cut back from quote unquote the luxury items, having to then come to balance a checkbook, for instance, remembering how to get back home. That may seem important to you, but it's not important. It's not as important to the brain as digestion, breathing, respiration, blood flow, controlling blood pressure, and so on, which the brain obviously all controls all of those things. So it has to ration, it has to triage, so to speak, and so more energy is funneled towards the survival functions of the brain as opposed to the higher order functions, the things that make us human. That's where you see the glitches, the memory loss, the inability to navigate, and the inability to perform complex math equations if you're a math person, for instance. So that is what is going on and what is causing the damage. So we're going to talk about that probably in more detail in other aspects. These handouts are available, but I'm going to introduce it. The Dementia's Dirty Dozen. You've probably seen the e-books. Basically, we're looking at the 12 things, and you probably heard me speak about it too, but the 12 major categories of things that can cause drop damage and drop in energy. So they can do both. And this is by no means exhaustive. This was just a way for me to kind of conceptualize and put it in a framework. And the way I like to look at it is just to kind of chunk them, is that there are 12 of them. So 3 of them have to do with 4 of them have to do with direct damage to the brain. So illnesses, injuries, injuries could be both physical and emotional, by the way. Insults, toxins, the effects of toxins, chemical toxins for the most part. And then, of course, the 4th one is infections. Yes, so infections like COVID-19 and viral infections. So those are direct assaults on the brain. The other 4 are due to like imbalances. I mean, you can't really see a major problem on the outside, but you know that something is off. So those would include imbalances, hormonal imbalances, for instance. Those would include insulin resistance, which most people have. It would also include intestinal dysfunction and, of course, immune dysfunction. And a remarkable amount of money is being spent on the last 2. The 3rd category of 4 are the inadequacies, when the brain is not getting enough of the things that it needs to function. So that would include activity. Big issue. The brain needs the body, the physical body, to move. If it's not getting enough of that physical motion and physical exertion, it's going to be a problem for the brain. Number 2 is insomnia, lack of sleep or lack of quality sleep, several interruptions during the night, for instance. Number 3 is isolation, or anything that has to do with not having quality relationships or not enjoying the benefit of close quality relationships. And number 4 would be, let me see, what is it? Where is it here? Inactivity, insomnia, isolation, and the inadequacies. So that's referring primarily to nutrient inadequacies. We've talked about vitamin D. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more, which is one of the top deficiencies that can lead to a not so healthy brain, for instance. Now, the point is this. It's from my experience treating hundreds of people with brain disorders, it is never really one thing. It's usually a combination. These things kind of like work together, combine, tag team, and they all work together over a period of time to break down the brain's defenses, make it more vulnerable to other attacks, and eventually you have what is known as dementia. And here you have them in the list. And I had this picture just to kind of like show just like an overall picture, just how people see what are the different things. And there's some kind of glitch going on, but it's in the show notes. So everything from toxins in the home, toxins in the air, toxins within your mouth, your dentition, big problem. I think this particular picture is just showing things on the outside. There should be another picture that will show things on the inside. So let's talk more about brain energy depletion. And that is the second cause. And it's usually a combination of 2. There's cellular damage, brain damage, and brain energy depletion. One feeds the other, quite frankly.